Howdy Friars, just wanted to make a bit of a video update here. Going to be a few changes of pace I just wanted to let you guys know about. One thing is, there's a few things. The first thing is SmokeSignal development on a technical level, especially updates that kind of reflect in obvious UX improvements, those will probably slow down. We're focusing on a few deeper technical issues and getting those worked out. So we might not have something super flashy to show every demo day for SmokeSignal, so that's one change. A more positive change is that we are tracking more of the long-term goals for Foundry and SmokeSignal. For example, getting a network of high flyers accumulated. That's just one of them, and there's about 10 or 15 of these that we have now. We're still putting it together. I thought we'd have it put together by Monday, and then I was going to sort of talk about it and then revisit it on Friday, but we should get that done pretty quickly, maybe today. And then once we have that done every week, I think I've said this before, but every week on Monday we will go through and I'll make a video similar to this one talking about how each of these are being addressed, worked on, and then on Friday we'll revisit. And I might as well just grab that doc and show it. Hold on a second. Okay, there's something weird with my screen capture. The resolution is off. I'll just read through them rather. Okay, so we have sort of the categories of marketing, SmokeSignal, the DEth contract, Team Toast scaling, and Foundry Autonomy. So, and within those categories, so in marketing we have ongoing actions that'll be, running ads and various small tasks, and then brand identity. That's a big one we're going to focus on more. Brand identity is it's what results in a more consistent color scheme and font and stuff. All of our products, you have the Foundry website, you have SmokeSignal, and you have DEth, and there's not a lot of cohesiveness to them, and they each individually as well could use more work on the design and making it just look more attractive. And the core of that is really a brand strategy. So that's the first step, which is like, what is our story? What is it that we're doing for Foundry and for SmokeSignal, etc. And then that results in a brand identity, which is a document that talks about what the color schemes are and fonts, and how any visual designer could sort of make something that looks like it belongs to Foundry or SmokeSignal or whatever it is. So the brand identity is a huge thing we're going to be focusing on right away. So that's one of the things we'll be focusing on week by week. The other things are, for SmokeSignal, we have market fit and iteration. So just trying to figure out, what is the most painful thing about SmokeSignal and fixing that, or what are people most asking for and working on that. UX improvement, which is similar, but more focusing on, when people get there, are they confused? What's gone wrong? And then scaling. So as SmokeSignal gets more use, when there's 100 or 1,000 or more messages on SmokeSignal, the app can slow down and maybe break in various ways. So we want to make sure that we have some strategies around that, and that when the app, like right now, the main app actually is pretty sluggish. That's something we've actually fixed on the staging server. We'll push that out soon, but there will be many problems like that coming up that we'll have to address as we go. Then for DEth, there's marketing and development. Those are the two categories. Pretty self-explanatory there. And then for Team Toast scaling, so again, for those who don't know, Team Toast is that's us. That's the team that is building Foundry and building SmokeSignal up until Foundry itself is autonomous, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But for us, we're constantly having to grow. Let me list the items here. So there's internal processes like agile, or like different tools like Todoist or Trello. And how do we get our own team to work like a well-oiled machine? Hand tasks around, make sure things are getting done on time. And that's, from that, if we get that right, we can do nice roadmaps and things as well. The second thing under Team Toast scaling is developers. We just need to hire more developers. And the third thing is Fiat Spending. So it's kind of a funny one, but since we're not really a company in any legal sense, it's not necessarily straightforward to get a good Fiat Spending. And for example, when we first were setting up ads for SmokeSignal, several of the problems we had to do with using people's credit cards that then would run out of money, and so we're just trying to get some credit card solution that we can reliably and fairly quickly turn the DAI in the treasury into a spendable credit card, basically. Again, Team Toast scaling that's internal processes, hiring developers, and Fiat Spending. And the final one, this is the more long-term one, is Foundry Autonomy. I wrote about this in the forum. Often I bring up the 3 pillars of Foundry Autonomy, and those pillars are governance, high friar network, and fat treasury. So governance is of course, a much more technical item. We need to build the thing that takes fry holders' votes and turns them into actions that the treasury actually executes. The 2 options there, generally speaking, are we could get something off the shelf, like I forget the name, Aragon DAO, or we could copy some other DAO that works, like Moloch or something like that, or we could build our own. We're still leaning towards building our own, at least in the long term, because we want Foundry to be particularly resilient against pressure, and we don't think the other DAOs face that kind of pressure, and we don't think they're designed for that kind of pressure in mind in particular. Although all DAOs in some sense are resilient, certainly more resilient than a corporation and a legal system. But since we want Foundry to be even more resilient in that way, we suspect that we won't just be able to get something off the shelf and then throw that in. Anyway, that's one thing, is governance. That's one pillar of Foundry Autonomy. The high friar network is another big thing. So you need people who will actually vote. So you need people who have fry tokens that will look at proposals and vote on them, and also people who will identify opportunities and make those into proposals. So that's the high friar network. Right now, a lot of the thinking is done internally by Team Toast. We try to externalize that and make it transparent. And we do have a few community members that contribute to the conversation. But we really need to go way farther on getting the community involved before we can sort of hand the controls over to the Foundry governance and the friars themselves. And then the fat treasury, that's the last pillar of Foundry Autonomy. So Foundry needs to be able to pay for cool stuff, something on the order of $1 million to $30 million. That's at least what's in my head. The other Team Toast members might have different figures, but we want enough to where we can hire huge firms to execute on specific things. Throw a bunch of money at marketing, this or that. And so, we're getting there. We keep growing in magnitude. We're not really near there yet. We have about 116,000 DAI in the treasury. And that's been slowing down a bit. Well, it comes and goes. We have our pump and dump cycle. But lately the gas prices for the sale have been insane, which, by the way, we want to work on at least getting some more information on the sale interface about that, so at least people aren't surprised by the gas prices. But anyway, that's a tangent. So those are the, let's see, there's 2, 5, 7, so 13 items there. I'll make these into a list and put it in the video notes, so that way you guys can read along. But, well, now I'm saying this after I already went over them all, but those are the things that we were looking at week by week. For each of those items, we'll attach a sort of an executive that is tracking it, making sure it gets done, and we will summarize the goal or goals that is going on under that, and then every week that will be updated. And again, we will sort of we'll bring this to you guys on Monday, and then we'll review our progress on Friday as part of the demo day. So that was quite a big topic there, but that's another sort of change of pace, is that we will be more, I think, consistent in making sure all of these 13 tracks, and we might add or remove a few of these going on, but they'll be pretty stable, but making sure these are all being tracked at the very least every week, and probably pursued in some degree. So just to pick one at random, governance is something it's easy for us to kind of forget about, because we're trying to build products, we're trying to market, blah, 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 and the governance doesn't matter if everything else doesn't work. But it really is something we should be working on regularly, but this will let us every week be able to look at, okay, what can we do for governance now? And probably the first few steps of that is going to be research. It'll just mean more consistent progress on all of the fronts that we need to make progress on if we really want Foundry to be fully launched and autonomous by February 2022, that's the goal. Yeah, and I think there was one other change of pace I wanted to go over. Oh, yeah, well, maybe not exactly a change of pace, but just back on the brand identity, that is a huge thing we're going to be working very hard on. But the first steps in that process aren't necessarily flashy. So first we need to sit down and go, okay, what is Foundry's story? You know, how does it speak to the mind, body, and soul of a potential investor? Like, if you get those three right, then and you can communicate that effectively, you're a much more attractive project. So we have to start with the behind the scenes stuff and let that sort of organically evolve into the brand strategy, which is like what is our story and things like that, would evolve into a brand identity, which is like a set of colors and fonts and sort of design principles. And then once we have that, then we can actually hand it off to a designer and make a new front page for Foundry, for example. So that's a huge focus for us. But it's not going to. We're not going to be able to show you or demo things, progress on that immediately. Certainly not by this Friday. Probably not by the next Friday. Who knows? Could take a month or two. I'm not really sure. It's the first time I've gone through this process in the right way, personally. Although Chris, who we've onboarded a month ago, he's done this a few times, so he knows the roadmap there. And he's the one who's pointed out that this is all necessary in the first place. So I'm really excited. In particular, I'm excited for some ideas we have for redesigning the Foundry website and the brand identity there. I mean, I think we've got some really fucking cool stuff that's going to come out. I'm really excited to get that in front of you guys. I'll probably show you guys mock-ups before it's actually implemented, but that would only be like a week or so before it's actually live. And then another small piece of news is that we've hired someone named Lo Lemmer, and he is going to be working on our. He's going to be sort of heading a couple of things. The brand identity is one thing, and he's going to be also working on building the community, which connects directly to the High Friar network idea. So from the outside, I think our project looks a little dead. Unfortunately, and our blog on our website hasn't been updated in a while. The roadmap is a few months old, and we just don't have anyone that's really posting regularly on social media. And so Lowe's job is to fix all of that, get us a real, really make us a living presence with a personality online, while working on the brand identity, and High Friar network. It's all sort of connected. He's a creative guy. Really get a good feeling about him. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think that's all I have to talk about now. I will post this now. Like I said, I'll include a list of these focuses that I just went over a bit ago in the video, and I'll probably also write a little summary included with the Telegram message that I send out for this video. So cool. Alrighty. Thanks for listening, and I'm excited to move forward. Things might seem to slow down a little bit, but we're just getting some internal things sort of configured right, and then we should be able to make some really exciting changes to many different aspects of the Foundry project here. Cool. All right.